Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the images flickering across our screens are the ones we've spent years praying we would never see. The night sky over Tel Aviv and the port city of Haifa wasn't lit by stars but by the terrifying streaks of ballistic missiles. Once again, our friends in Israel were forced to rush their grandchildren into bomb shelters as sirens wailed across the central and southern heartlands. But this is no longer just another skirmish in a long-standing grievance. We are witnessing the Iran-Israel war transition from a shadow conflict into a direct, high-stakes confrontation that threatens to pull the entire world into its orbit. As we speak, US Central Command, our own Centcom, has released chilling before and after footage of precision strikes on the Karaj missile plant deep inside Iran. For those of us who have lived through the Cold War and seen the cost of global instability, the question isn't just about geography, it's about our future. Are American troops in danger? Can we still avoid a third world war, or are we already standing on the precipice? Tonight we peel back the headlines to look at the cold, hard facts of how the US and Israel are responding to this unprecedented escalation. Stay with me, because the truth matters now more than ever. To understand the gravity of this moment, we must look closely at what happened in the skies over Israel just hours ago. This wasn't a symbolic gesture, it was a saturation attack designed to overwhelm defenses and claim lives. From the launch sites deep within the Islamic Republic, a barrage of ballistic missiles arched across the Middle East, targeting the heart of the Jewish state. For the families living in the northern suburbs of Tel Aviv, the silence of the evening was shattered by the thunder of interceptions. We have seen reports of civilian structures, homes where families were sitting down for dinner, damaged by falling debris and direct hits. The port city of Haifa, a critical lifeline for the nation's economy, saw its massive oil refineries targeted. While initial reports suggest the damage to the refineries was contained, the psychological impact is undeniable. Imagine for a moment being a retiree in Haifa, hearing the ground shake and seeing the horizon glow orange with fire. This is the reality of the Iran-Israel war as it stands today. But the aggression didn't stop at the borders of Israel. As these missiles were in the air, the world held its breath to see how the US would react. Our own intelligence and military assets have been working overtime to track these threats. The tension is palpable. Not just in the situation rooms in Washington, but in the homes of every American veteran who remembers the sting of past conflicts in these very same deserts. The Iranian regime has claimed these strikes are a just response, but for the international community, this is a dangerous gamble with global stability. The use of long-range ballistic missiles against civilian-populated areas in central and southern Israel marks a point of no return. We are no longer talking about border skirmishes between proxies. We are talking about a sovereign nation launching a direct assault on a key American ally. As we analyze the wreckage and the trauma left behind, we must ask, how much more can the Iron Dome and the Arrow defense systems take? And more importantly, what happens when the defense is no longer enough? The sheer scale of this Iranian escalation has forced the hand of both Jerusalem and Washington, leading to a counter-response that has changed the map of the Middle East overnight. When the first missiles fell on Tel Aviv, the world waited for the other shoe to drop. It didn't take long. In a display of military coordination that we haven't seen in decades, the response from both Israel and the US was swift, surgical, and devastating. This is the moment where the Iran-Israel war moved from defense to a crushing offensive. First, let's look at the role of our own brave men and women in uniform. US Central Command, or Centcom, released footage that should make every adversary of democracy think twice. Using high-precision munitions, US forces conducted a targeted strike on the Karaj ballistic missile manufacturing plant. If you've seen the before and after satellite imagery, the result is clear. What was once a hub for regional instability is now a smoking crater. By taking out this facility, the US didn't just defend a friend. We dismantled the very machinery that threatens our interests in the region. For those of us who believe in a strong American presence, this was a reminder that our reach is long and our aim is true. But the Israelis didn't wait for the dust to settle at Karaj. In a daring and unprecedented move, the IDF launched a massive wave of airstrikes directly at the heart of the regime, Tehran. Imagine the technical feat required to bypass layers of air defenses to strike strategic infrastructure in a capital city of millions. This was a clear message to the leadership in Iran. Nowhere is safe. Simultaneously, the Israeli Navy moved with lethal efficiency in the north. Reports have confirmed strikes against Iranian naval assets in the Caspian Sea. This is a critical development, folks. By targeting these maritime facilities, Israel is effectively cutting off the regime's ability to project power across the water, tightening the noose around their military logistics. The coordination between US intelligence and Israeli pilots during these hours was seamless. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about restoration of deterrence. However, as the smoke rises over Tehran and Karaj, the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. We are seeing a level of kinetic warfare that transcends the shadow war of the past 40 years. As Americans, we must ask ourselves, as we lean in to support our ally, how close are we to a point where there is no turning back? The precision of these strikes was perfect, but the political fallout is only just beginning to settle. As the smoke begins to drift across the skylines of Tehran and Tel Aviv, we are left to confront the sobering reality of what this Iran-Israel war actually costs. Beyond the headlines of tactical successes and strategic strikes, there is a human story unfolding, one that should give every American pause. In Israel, life has been upended. Imagine being a grandfather in a suburb north of Tel Aviv, shielding your grandchildren as the walls of your home shake from the shockwaves of a nearby missile impact. This isn't a movie, it's the daily bread of our allies today. The psychological toll of living under a constant rain of fire from Iran is something no society should have to endure, yet the resilience we see in the Israeli people is nothing short of heroic. But the consequences ripple far beyond the borders of the Middle East. Here at home in the US, we feel a different kind of weight. For many of you watching, you have sons, daughters, or grandchildren wearing the uniform of the US Armed Forces. As Centcom carries out precision strikes in places like Karaj, the question on every parent's and grandparent's mind is, are our brave men and women in harm's way? The threat of regional escalation means that our bases in the region are on high alert, and the spectre of a broader ground conflict looms larger than it has in decades. Politically, the pressure is mounting on a scale we haven't seen since the Cold War. Leaders in Washington are walking a razor's edge. On one hand, there is the undeniable moral and strategic necessity to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. On the other, there is the desperate need to prevent this from spiraling into a global conflagration that could draw in other superpowers. We must also consider the internal stability of the Iranian regime. By striking at the heart of Tehran and the naval bases of the Caspian, the IDF hasn't just hit buildings. They have challenged the very authority of the Iranian leadership. History tells us that when a regime feels backed into a corner, its actions can become even more unpredictable. As we watch the political fallout, we are forced to ask, is there still a path back to the negotiating table, or has the language of diplomacy been completely replaced by the roar of jet engines and the whistle of falling missiles? The stakes for our national security and the safety of our troops have never been higher. While the thunder of explosions in the Iran-Israel war feels a world away, the shockwaves are hitting us right here at home, at the gas pump and in our grocery aisles. With oil prices surging to $108 per barrel, the economic stability of every American household is under siege. For those of us living on a fixed income or planning for retirement, these numbers aren't just statistics. They are a direct threat to our way of life. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has sent ripples of panic through the global markets, forcing the leadership in the US to make some incredibly difficult and controversial decisions. We are now seeing Washington consider the unthinkable, releasing 140 million barrels of frozen Iranian oil just to keep our own economy from stalling. It's a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? To provide a financial lifeline to the very regime our troops are currently striking in Karaj, all in the name of stabilizing the global market. Furthermore, the ripples extend to Russia. By issuing general licenses for Russian oil under strict conditions, the US government is desperately trying to prevent a total energy collapse before April 2026. Even our allies in Australia are sounding the alarm, warning that this spike in energy costs is a body blow to their GDP and inflation rates. As Americans, we have to ask, is this the price of global leadership? We are caught in a pincer move between our moral obligation to stand with Israel and the harsh reality of a global energy crisis. We aren't just fighting a war of missiles, we are fighting a war of resources. The question that keeps us up at night remains: can we protect our allies without bankrupting our own future? As we look back at the chaos of the last 48 hours, one thing is certain: the world we woke up to yesterday is gone. The Iran-Israel war has shifted the tectonic plates of global power, leaving us to navigate a landscape filled with uncertainty. We have seen the incredible bravery of the Israeli people, the unmatched precision of US military might, and the chilling desperation of a regime in Tehran that seems intent on dragging the world into the abyss. But in times like these, we must remember who we are. We are a nation that has weathered many storms. We have seen empires rise and fall, and we have always stood as a beacon of hope for those who value freedom. While the headlines focus on the $108 oil and the tactical strikes in Karaj, our focus must remain on the human cost and the preservation of peace for the generations that follow us. We must remain vigilant. The coming days will be critical as the dust settles and the diplomats, or the generals, take their next steps. Will the fire in Israel be contained, or are we witnessing the opening salvos of a much larger struggle? Only time will tell, but we will be here to bring you the truth, unfiltered and unwavering. Before you go, I want to hear from you. This community is built on the wisdom of those who have seen history unfold. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Comment "Pray for peace" if you are standing with the families in the crossfire and hoping for a swift de-escalation. Subscribe to this channel if you believe that in an age of confusion, the truth matters more than the headlines. Thank you for spending your time with us today. God bless you, and may God protect our troops and our allies.